Welcome to World Events in the Bible. I'm Brandon T. Ward. Hey, let's talk about the elections. All right, it's getting really crazy out there. I don't need to tell you guys that. The news coverage is just insane. All right, I have a list of some stuff I'm going to talk about, so that's what we're going to do. The mainstream media is calling for the Biden to win the election. All right, Fox News is doing it. Obviously, the liberal media is doing it. And suddenly the whole world thinks that Joe Biden won the election. And this is a contested election. Okay, there's a lot of evidence of voter fraud. There's always voter fraud. Okay, there's always voter fraud at these elections. There's always dead people voting, for candidates, and they've been dead for several years. Voting machines changing the vote. I mean, we're all aware of this stuff. Okay, so that's the typical stuff. But what we're seeing in this election is even beyond that. Okay, now coming out the gate, I want all of my regular readers know that I don't care for either candidate. I didn't vote for either candidate because I don't believe in the voting system. I don't believe in the people running for office, okay? Joe Biden is obviously a radical lefty. President Trump, he supports things that I just don't agree with, like same-sex marriage and these type of things. He doesn't condemn it, and that's a whole other story. I don't want to get into all the details. I just want to let it be known to everybody that I'm not a Trump supporter and I'm not a Biden supporter. I'm just looking at this objectively, looking at what's going on, and we're just calling the shots from there, okay? Now, when we were watching the election night, had it up on the screen, we were looking at Fox News and I think it was NBC, and when they have a chart, the whole country showing which state is going red, blue, right? And I'm showing the kids because they're asking this stuff. Hey, what does this mean? So it's getting towards the end of the evening. It was really late, actually. And you had Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia, and they were going red. Actually, it looked like Trump was going to take the election pretty easy. And I remember, I should have took a screenshot, but this is all well known now, so what I'm about to tell you, I'm sure you have heard. But I was showing the kids in Pennsylvania, Trump had like a 700,000 vote lead, and one of our readers pointed this out too, Mr. Kevin, so he saw the same thing we did. He had a lead, and that was, maybe 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock West Coast time. And we were just like, oh man, he's going to easily get Pennsylvania, and I believe at that point in time, Trump had there was 89% of the votes that were counted, if I recall correctly, okay, at that time. So we wake up the next day and we all know that all of a sudden the gap got really close, which is odd to me because if almost 90% of the votes are counted and Trump had been trending by leading the gap by 700,000 votes, what are the odds then that Biden's suddenly going to close that gap with like 10, 11% of the votes left to be counted? It totally doesn't make any sense, all right? Now I want to show you a map of the country. This map comes from Fox News, and you click on the little counties tab that they have there, and you see all the red in the country. Okay, that's America. That's us, how we're voting. Because the Republican Party, I don't support the Republican Party. I don't support the Democrat Party. But from what America's perception is and what has been historically is Republicans are more conservative. Republicans are about budgets. They're more focused on God, these things. That's historically what it's been. It hasn't been that way lately, okay? These are things that we've talked about for years. We wrote an article in 2016, just before the election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. It was called The Destruction of Our Nation and the Ballot Box. And the idea, what we talked about, is our votes don't matter, okay? Some people get bent out of shape when they hear that, but it's a fact, all right? It is a fact, and you're seeing it right now unfold before your eyes. And in that article, we talk about how nobody wanted Donald Trump. All the polls showed that when they had several Republican contenders, that nobody wanted Trump. It was like 9% of the American population, and Hillary Clinton, they wanted even less. But those were our candidates. That's who was selected for us to vote on. So we really didn't have a choice, okay? I just want to come out and put some history there, maybe for some new viewers and readers and whatnot, so they know where we're coming from here. So what I would ask is, now that we're seeing all this extra voter fraud, who can vote in this system? I mean, looking forward, if the vote goes and this goes down and Joe Biden really becomes the next president of the United States, are you going to have confidence in voting for anybody? I don't care if you're a Republican guy or a Democrat guy. I mean, are you going to have confidence in it? I don't see that. I don't see that. And to me, it undermines our system of what our whole country's founded on. That's very dangerous. This is also dangerous. Twitter has been censoring the president like crazy. I don't care if you don't like the president, okay? I've been talking for 4 years. Go back on our website, and I'll always point out if Trump does something that is against the law, you know, these executive orders, or he's spending more than what Barack Obama did. And I did the same thing for Obama, okay? So the history is there. And but to go and censor the president just because he says something that you don't like, that Twitter doesn't agree with, that is completely wrong. Okay, it's supposed to be a public platform. I know it's this private company and whatnot, but it was built upon this thing where, hey, we all can get together and talk to one another, you know, and socialize online and all this. Well, now it's turning into a control mechanism. Facebook's doing it too. Other social media outlets are as well. So we're going down a very dangerous road. And again, the mainstream media and Fox News are both calling the election for Joe Biden. Now, Fox News is supposed to be this Republican conservative media outlet. We've been saying for years that they are essentially owned by the same group, same, maybe you want to say family, for some of the wise people out there, as some of the other people on the Democratic side. And you're seeing like Fox is picking and choosing what they want to report. And now they're just going full-blown radical against the president. You know, oh yeah, Biden won. Okay, these people, they know how elections work, okay? Nothing has been decided yet. Your votes haven't decided anything yet. And we're gonna actually talk about that in just a moment, but there's something else, one other thing I wanna bring up here before I get into how the voting system actually works. Rudy Giuliani, one of the lawyers for the president, he had a news conference the other day. I'll throw up a link below the video here. And he goes up, he was in Philadelphia, and he had a bunch of guys standing behind him. Well, those people were actually poll watchers. And they went up to the podium one by one, and they said, hey, we were there trying to observe the votes being counted, and we were not allowed to go up to where they were doing the ballots. We couldn't get close to them. They said we couldn't see them. Everybody saw the video or the pictures of them putting up boards so people couldn't peer through the windows and look. Look, man, if you don't have anything to hide, what are you doing all that for? You know, why are you blocking people that can go view the ballots? Why are you doing that? It's because there's some funny business going on, all right? So that right there, I think is dangerous. And I think it's really scary for our way of life in this country, but it really ties in everything that's kind of gone on for years, and especially this year when we think of things like global government and whatnot. Now, I mentioned I want to talk about how the elections work. All right, so I printed off a piece of paper here. It's from the Congressional Research Service. This is from the government, okay? I'll put the link to this as well, so you can go, I want you to go read this for yourself. It's only 2 pages. I'm not gonna read it all. I'm gonna read some highlights here, okay? So this is how the election goes down. This is why I'm saying nothing has been decided yet, but everybody's acting like Biden is suddenly the president, and some media outlets are getting on Trump because he's not helping turn over power and all this craziness. It's silly stuff. Now, November 3rd, we all go and we vote, right? This is from the government. And it says, voters, when we vote, we are actually voting for the electors committed to support these candidates. And the candidates are, you know, whoever's running for president. So Republican, Donald Trump, Biden, you know, for the Democrats. So when we go vote, we're actually voting for the electors that represent those candidates, is what it's saying. That happens on November 3rd. Nothing was decided, right? I didn't read anything in there about that. Now, from November 4th to December 14th, we have counting popular votes and filing certificates of ascertainment. This is what goes down. Let me read a couple pieces of this. It says, following Election Day, the states are to count and verify popular vote results according to the respective statutory and procedural requirements. So each of the states has their own requirements, and they're going to count all these votes that came in, okay? That's what it's talking about. It says state governors prepare documents known as certificates of ascertainment of the vote. The certificates must list the names of the electors chosen by the voters. Remember, we voted for the electors actually. And the number of votes received in the popular election results. So they go through and they certify all this stuff from November 4th to December 14th. Again, nothing has been decided. There is no President-elect Biden or any of this nonsense. On December 8th, there's something called the Safe Harbor Deadline. I'm going to let you read about it, but it talks about if there is contested results, which we do have Donald Trump is contesting the election for obvious reasons. December 14th, electors vote in their states. Now we're getting somewhere. I said December 14th. The date on which the electors meet and vote. And it says the Electoral College delegations meet separately in their respective states and the District of Columbia at places designated by their state legislature. So electors in California are going to go to a spot that the state said that they go to do their little vote thing. If they're in Texas, whatnot, this is how it goes down. It says the electors vote by paper ballot, casting one ballot for president and one for vice president. The electors count the results and then sign 6 certificates. These are known as certificates of the vote, which the electors are required to sign. They then pair the 6 certificates of ascertainment provided by the state governors, remember we covered that a minute ago, with the certificates of the vote, that's the one the electors put together, and sign, seal, and certify them. All right? The 6 certificates are then distributed by registered mail. Registered mail voter fraud again, right? All right, so that's how it goes down, but nothing's been decided. There is no, President Trump hasn't won anything, Biden hasn't won anything. It's all being decided, but it hasn't been decided. It's going through the process. This is nothing new. It's been like this for a very, very, very long time. On December 23rd, certificates must be delivered to the designated officials. There's a process, and that's what this government document talks about. Now here you go, January 6th, 2021, not even this year. The joint session of Congress is to count the electoral votes and declare election results. And they meet. And it says, this date set by law where the Senate and House of Representatives assemble at 1 p.m. in a joint session at the Capitol in the House chamber to count the electoral votes and declare the results. That's the gist of it. That's how it goes down. Nothing's been decided until January 6th. And then on January 20th, of course, the president is inaugurated. So on January 6th is when we will know who is actually going to be the president. Not Fox News doesn't tell us, MSNBC, all these guys, they're not going to tell us, but they are causing a ton of confusion, right? A ton of confusion. Because now everybody's buying into that Biden's the president. What happens if Donald Trump is declared the winner? What happens? I'm not saying it's going to, but I'm just saying, what happens? Because everybody thinks that Biden's the president or going to be the president now. Could you imagine what the radical lefties will do? They rioted and they destroyed a bunch of city blocks in some of these cities over something that even happened in their town, right? What are they going to do if their little Biden guy gets elected? Does not get elected now. Kind of crazy. What is it going to be? It's going to be more chaos and disorder. Exactly what we've seen all this year, right? This whole COVID thing. No, we're not talking about COVID in this video. But this is all about destroying our system, destroying our way of life. The United States of America is the last little bit of freedom, really, that's kind of holding back the one world government, if you will. And to close up, I want to read a verse here that I think is very fitting. Matthew 12, verse 25. It says, and Jesus knew their thoughts. And if you read ahead of this, he's talking about, he knew the thoughts of the Pharisees. These guys are bad dudes, okay? And he said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And that is what's happening to our country right now. It's being divided. It is being divided like I've never seen before. And certainly over this election, especially when we start calling it for somebody when there's so much fraud and this stuff going on. So it has been divided over the COVID thing. It's been divided this year over this race stuff that's gone on. And it's being divided now over the presidential election. It's getting to the point where it's hard for you to find agreement with those around you. And see what happens that's why Jesus said a house divided can't stand. If we all live into the same household and we're all fighting at each other's necks, we can't work anything. We can't get anything accomplished. And that's what he's trying to tell us. And look at our country. Look what's happening. This is by design. It's important you know that, okay? It's important to know what Jesus said about it. That's why I just read it to you. But don't get all upset and stressed out about this. These are things that you can't change. They're just to be aware of and get your news and turn off the TV. Stay in this thing and enjoy the time with your family that you have, okay? Hey, thank you so much for watching and have a good day.